So one of the things that you figure out over spending time on the internet is that people dislike change. They think it's like scary and they don't like it. They get into this groove, and they like this groove, and they don't like getting out of this groove. They don't like leaving their comfort zone. And when things change, they get disappointed, generally. Though I think, in some cases, change is good. For example, I have a new camera. This is my old camera, the Canon Vixia HF100. You'll notice I have a power cord plugged into it, mainly because the battery is shot. It's dead. It can't actually work without the battery, and I never bothered to get a spare battery because it's not like I ever needed it to move. But no, here it is. This is the old camera. I've recorded every single video that you have ever seen from me on this camera, with the exception of the video you're watching now, of course, and my most recent review, the one of Zankyo no Terror. But everything else was done with this camera, this beautiful, wonderful camera. But let's just turn it on here and see. See, that's pretty cool, right? So let's just have a look and a bit of a comparison, if you will. So here's my old camera. See? See what this looks like. It's a little shaky, I admit, because I'm holding it under my arm and it's not on the tripod. But still, like this is the old camera. Old camera, new camera. Old camera, new camera. Old camera, new camera. This is, of course, my new camera. This is the Nikon D5300. Ooh, look at that sexy thing. Look at that sexy thing. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. And this thing's amazing. I don't have everything I want for it. Like, I probably need to get a better lens, and I wouldn't mind getting, like, a shotgun mount to put on top of it or something. But for what I need, this thing's amazing. It really is. So, it is kind of weird for me having a new camera. There's a lot of things I don't know about this camera yet. I've never actually used a DSLR before, so there's a lot of things I'm learning. So over the course of the next little while, there'll be slight changes here and there as I learn more about my new camera and figure out how to use it properly. But that's not the only thing that's changed, or rather, that's not the only thing that should change. The problem I have with coming up and responding to criticism of my videos is that some of the time, it's not my fault, or it's nothing I can change, or it's nothing that I feel needs to change. One of the things that's been popping up a lot lately in the last couple of videos is people have been saying that I haven't been critical enough. And to a point, I can see where they're coming from. I really can. I look at Zankyo no Terror, and people are like, you weren't critical enough with that. That thing was crap. Okay, well, first of all, I didn't think it was crap. Gonna put that out there, okay? And then secondly, while it is true that I didn't go into very much detail about the couple of things that I hated with the show, it's most of the things that I disliked with Zankyo no Terror revolved around a character called 5 and everything that she did over the course of her part of the series. But all of that started at like the halfway point of the series all the way until the end, which, if you don't know, is major spoiler territory. So I have to sit there and I have to ask myself, okay, well, how critical do I want to be? How much detail do I want to put into this versus how much spoilers do I want to put into it? I guess the other thing I need to look at is I need to wonder, okay, well, who's the video for? What I've been trying to do with a lot of my videos is try and be as open as possible, as try to be, what's the words I'm looking for? To try and be as accessible as possible. Yes, I think that's the word I want. So I want my videos to be able to be watched by as most people as possible. And because of that, I need to assume that whoever is watching my review has never seen the show. Maybe they've heard about it, maybe they want to know more, maybe they're just wondering if they should watch it. Maybe someone told them that it's really good, but it has maybe a lot of episodes to it, and they were like, should I watch this show? That is what you might come to the video for. Granted, I also realize that there are other people that come to the video that have already seen the show and want to know if what they thought of the show matches my thoughts. Maybe it's a thing that they want to be validated, or maybe they're just curious as to what other people thought. Maybe because they don't have anybody to talk to about the show in general, and they want to know what other people thought. And that's cool too. I have to be able to cater to them as well. But that's the thing, though. It's like this balance of the people that have seen the show and the people that haven't seen the show. Like, if you have seen the show, then a good chunk of my video is going to bore you. Like, not in the right beginning when I do my intro, because usually that's me blabbering on about something somewhat related that I think is pretty cool or important. But usually the second section, which is known as the story or setting, and in some of my videos, that section is for the most part useless if you've seen the show, because you already know exactly what I'm telling you. I'm basically doing a general recap of the series. And I do that for the people that have never seen the show, because I can't go and talk about the characters, I can't talk about the things that I liked about the plot that don't go into spoilers, without giving you kind of like a primer to exactly, like the context, rather, of what I'm talking about. And that section I think is really important, so I'm not going to get rid of it. But then it comes to the point where if I want to go into detail about the story for people that have seen the entire show, it's... A good example of this is like saying if I want to talk about the ending, because as you know, my beliefs on the show's ending is that the ending is paramount. And it has become a problem at several points in my reviewing career, where I try to talk about why I hated an ending, but doing so almost spoils it, because I'm basically somewhat, in some cases, telling you what happens, which I don't like doing. Sometimes it's inevitable. Like if I tell you that Attack on Titan did not end. Yes, that's kind of a spoiler because you didn't know that, and you probably, well, you might want to figure that out anyway, but at the same time, I don't really consider it a spoiler because it's not like I told you what happened at the very end of it. I'm just telling you that it ended early. So that kind of thing, is okay. I don't mind saying things like that, but if I was to tell you, say, that this character died at the end, this character died, it's now a cliffhanger, and I'm pissed off, that's a bit more spoiler territory. Even if I just shortened that down and said a character died, that's telling you something. Now with Zankyo no Terror, I could have potentially have figured out a way to explain why I disliked parts of the second half of the plot without actually spoiling anything. I wouldn't be able to give examples, but I would be able to do it. But my problem with that is that even if I did come up with that, it would be rather vague. And then people would be like, oh, what do you mean? They still wouldn't know what my problem is because I didn't go into detail about it. So... it's hard. Reviewing is not easy, or doing what people want. And then I have to wonder, okay, well, how critical is too critical? I see some people that tout themselves as being critical people on the internet, whether they do videos or text or what have you. They say that they have critical opinions, and usually they for the most part, they do. You read anything or any of their works, even in comments on forums, and they go into at length as to why they didn't like shows. They give detailed examples about various things that they didn't like or didn't work or just didn't make sense to them, and that's cool and all. But then at the same time, I read all that and I look at these people and I'm wondering, there are times that I wonder, at least, do you even like anime? There's a point where I find that some people that complain that I'm not being too critical is because they're used to the people that are always critical, the people that are 100% always critical, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy, because I don't want to consider myself to be a cynical bastard, basically, because I'm not. Even if you look at my scores, just look at the scores. Like, you can forget how much you hate the scores, because I know a lot of people do. But some people complain that my scores is, Ark never gives anything like below a 7. It's rare that he gives a 6, and he never gives anything below that, which is not necessarily true. I have given some things lower than that. But you're right, for the most part, everything I have is like 7 and higher. And there's a reason for this. Why is there a reason for this? Well, the reason for this is that 7 is good. 7 relates to good on my scale, 8 is very good, 9 is excellent, and 10 is a masterpiece. But the reason I don't give anything, or you won't generally see a review that is lower than a 7 for me, is because in order to have lower than a 7, you get into the realm of just plain average, and when something is average to me, it's boring. Like, there may be redeemable qualities to things, but when you get to that point and lower, it starts becoming hard to watch. It's one of the things where I look at video game reviewers and I feel like they have an easier time than I do. Mainly because at least video games are an interactive medium. So you can have a shitty game and you can play through the shitty game, but at least you can play it. There's some level of interactivity there. You have to think, you have to do, and stuff like that. But anime, no, you just have to sit and experience. You have to force yourself to pay attention when a show is crap, and that's very hard to do. And when I only have enough time to review like 2 series a month or so, I have to pick and choose. I can't be like, no, I don't want to review something that is shit just for the fact that it's shit. Because then I have to wonder what's the point. If I take a show, all right, and I review it, and I tell you that it's not great. Like, not that it's terrible shit, but like it's just okay. It's just okay. There's nothing really great about it. It's just kind of there. Well, chances are you probably weren't going to watch it anyway. So what's the point in me telling you not to watch it? Because it's just okay. Aren't we just all wasting our time here? I'm wasting my time watching the show. I'm wasting the time to write the review, to make the review, just to throw up there for a show that you probably weren't going to watch anyway. So I have to think about that. Now, there are cases where there are shows that are really bad and I just have to talk about them. And that case is okay, but there comes a point where you won't see that from me. When it comes to me choosing what I review, it's because I have something that I want to say. Generally. Occasionally people have told me to review things. Back in the past I accepted donations, so I reviewed the things that people sent me and things like that. But generally speaking, I pick a show that I want to review because I have something that I want to say about it, or I feel like discussing it for whatever reason. I am never really forced to write a review because something just came out or something did this or that or the other thing. I'm never forced to write a review, if that makes sense. I'm not like contractually obligated. I don't work for a magazine who tells me I have to review this because that's my job. That isn't my job. And that's the other thing too, is like because I don't have like a partnership and I don't get free anime sent to me, I have to buy everything. And of course that goes back into the things that I've talked about like far in the past about buying versus illegal downloading. Anybody could illegal download stuff, and yeah, then sure, I'd have all this anime to review. But because I like to buy, at least when I can, that changes things for me drastically. I have an entire shelf here that you can't see, that you could see earlier, but you can't see now, of